Okay, if I could get your attention, please. I think we're ready to get this show on the road. So let me introduce myself. I'm Justin MacArthur, Director of the Department of Neurology here at Hopkins, and I'm honored to welcome you to the second installation of the W. Smith Charitable Trust Professorship in Neuroimmunology honoring Dr. Ahmet Hoke. I'm grateful to each of you because you've taken the time today to be with us as we celebrate this important occasion, including those viewing online. It's my distinct pleasure to recognize and celebrate a truly outstanding colleague, scientist, physician, educator, and friend, Dr. Ahmet Hoke. I'd also like to extend a special welcome to Dr. Ted DeWeese, my boss, Dean of the Medical Faculty, and Chief Executive Officer of Johns Hopkins Medicine, and a huge fan of the Department of Neurology. We're also deeply honored to have a special guest, Robert Havens, representing the W. Smith Charitable Trust, part of the family, and as we celebrate their remarkable legacy. This is actually Robert's second installation of this distinguished chair. His first was actually 22 years ago when he attended the inaugural dedication and installation with his family, including his grandmother, Mary Smith, and his parents, Louise and Peter Havens. I've certainly spent time with Louise over the years. Robert, it's really wonderful to have you here today. Also want to extend a special welcome to Dr. Hoke's wife, Nishi Das, as well as colleagues, friends, mentees, past and present, who are able to celebrate his achievement with us. So this W. Smith Professorship of Neuroimmunology was established in 2002 to support a distinguished neurologist devoted to understanding immune-mediated diseases of the nervous system and neuromuscular disorders. It honors excellence in clinical care, research, and leadership. The first recipient was Dr. Daniel Drachman, and he was, of course, a founding member of our department and a pioneering force in neuromuscular neurology. His groundbreaking research, mentorship, and advocacy for therapeutic innovation helped shape modern neurology and established Hopkins as a global leader in the field. He built a division that today stands as one of the most diverse and productive in the world, and his commitment to scientific discovery, compassionate care, and the mentorship of future neurologists continues to inspire all of us. In fact, his legacy lives on in the thousands of patients he helped, the many physicians he trained, and the scientific breakthroughs he sparked. His time as the W. Smith professor was deeply meaningful to him, and I know this from personal recollection. And I also know how much he truly valued his friendship with Louise Havens. We know how much he valued the work made possible by this professorship, and we're humbled to carry his memory forward by supporting the next leader in this critical field. Dr. Hoke embodies the values and vision of Dr. Drachman, although not his height. And he's already charting a path towards transformative contributions in neurological research, patient care, and the future of the field. Ahmet is a professor of neurology and neuroscience here at Hopkins, of course, where he serves as the director of the Drachman Division of Neuromuscular Diseases and the director of the Merkin Peripheral Neuropathy and Nerve Regeneration Center, two programs that have flourished under your visionary leadership. Dr. Hoke's academic and professional journey reflects an unwavering commitment to excellence. He earned his medical degree from Hacettepe, did I say that right? University in Ankara, Turkey, and went on to complete his internship and residency in internal medicine in Cleveland, followed by a Ph.D. in developmental neuroscience at Case Western. He arrived at Johns Hopkins for his neurology residency, and I was fortunate enough to be his residency director, and further honed his subspecialty expertise with training in neuromuscular disease at the University of Calgary. In 1999, he returned to Hopkins as an assistant professor, and we have been fortunate to have him as a pillar of this department ever since. In 2005, he became director of the Drachman Neuromuscular Division and was then promoted 4 years later to professor of neurology and neuroscience. In 2021, thanks to generous support from the Merkin Family Foundation, he launched the Merkin Center, a powerful interdisciplinary hub that reflects his commitment to advancing knowledge through collaboration. Under his leadership, this center has already united experts across Hopkins and beyond to accelerate discoveries in peripheral neuropathy and to develop novel therapies for those affected by these complex conditions. Dr. Hoke's research program is both prolific and impactful. His lab focuses on peripheral nerve biology and regeneration, using cutting-edge models to study neuropathies related to HIV infection, diabetes, and chemotherapy. His work on axonal injury and regeneration has illuminated the mechanisms behind nerve damage and recovery, paving the way for new therapeutic strategies. As a clinician, we can attest that Dr. Hoke is deeply admired for his thoughtful and compassionate care. He sees patients with peripheral neuropathies and nerve injuries, performs diagnostic studies, including nerve conduction and EMG, and interprets complex biopsies, all with a calm precision and unwavering dedication to his patients' well-being. On building on Dr. Drachman's legacy, Ahmet has embraced a deep interest in neuroimmunology, a field that Dr. Drachman helped to shape through his early studies of immune-mediated neuromuscular disorders such as myasthenia gravis. And today, Dr. Hoke is expanding this work by exploring the molecular underpinnings of diseases such as CIDP and Guillain-Barré syndrome. He's the Hopkins leader for a national multi-center study known as INC-BASE, which is working to better understand how different treatment regimens impact outcomes in patients with CIDP. He's also collecting and studying patient-derived stem cells to investigate how immune-neuron interactions go awry in these disorders, again, paving the way for more effective therapies. One example of his creativity and entrepreneurial spirit is his development of ethoxyquin as a potential treatment for chemotherapy-induced neuropathy. This is now being developed by a spin-off company as a neuroprotective agent. Over the course of his career, Dr. Hoke has held more than 60 NIH and foundation grants, delivered over 170 invited lectures, and authored more than 130 peer-reviewed publications. He's also an esteemed mentor, having guided more than 80 students and trainees across all levels of education, from predoctoral students to postdoctoral fellows. Beyond his research and clinical achievements, Dr. Hoke is a leader in the global neurology community. He serves on the boards of several professional societies and is the editor-in-chief of the Annals of Clinical and Translational Neurology, a role in which he continues to elevate the voices and work of others in the field. I've come to rely on Ahmet's advice over the past 2 years as director. He became an integral part of our NeuroAIDS Center. He never seeks the spotlight and tends to work from the wings of the stage, yet is incredibly effective, and his accomplishments speak to his work ethic. When he does have downtime, Dean, you'll like this part, he also scales mountains, Everest Base Camp, Kilimanjaro, and more recently, Mira Peak at 6,436 meters. Knowing Ahmet, he was probably editing manuscripts by flashlight at night in his tent. Oh, and by the way, the ICD code for altitude sickness is 70.29 XA. It's worth writing down. In every aspect of his work, Dr. Hoke embodies the mission of Johns Hopkins to deliver excellence in clinical care, research, and education. He's an inspiration to his colleagues, a trusted mentor to his trainees, and a beacon of hope to his patients. It is with deep gratitude and great pride that we recognize Dr. Ahmet Hoke as the W.W. Smith Charitable Trust Professor of Neuroimmunology in Neurology. Please join me in congratulating him on this well-deserved award. So I'd now like to welcome to the podium Dr. Ted DeWeese, the Francis Watt Baker, MD, and the Lennox D. Baker, Jr., MD, Dean of the Medical Faculty and Chief Executive Officer of Johns Hopkins Medicine.
Justin, the more titles there are, the less important someone is. So I think that probably says everything you need to know about me. Good afternoon, everybody. Real pleasure to be with you, particularly for this rededication, as you've already heard, of the W.W. Smith Charitable Trust in Neuroimmunology, and I think most importantly, to celebrate its second honoree, and arguably most worthy one, Ahmet Hoke. Ahmet, congratulations sincerely for you. I also, as Justin did, want to make sure I thank and recognize the W.W. Smith Charitable Trust and you, Robert, for being here today on behalf. It has been deeply helpful for this organization, for this department in particular, but I think it's well worth noting just how broad the trust philanthropy has actually been. So if you'll allow me a few things that I learned. $84 million invested in medical research that does the things that we hold so dear, fueling research that drives next clinical care that improves lives. $91 million, actually a little bit more than that, for undergraduate scholarships that support those pipeline of students we need to continue to do the things that we need for our country. And greater than $72 million dedicated to, really frankly, the most basic needs, those things that help sustain people vulnerable in their life with food security, housing security, and other essential needs. So beyond what you do for Johns Hopkins and here, thank you, your family's legacy for what you've done for society. Truly, thank you very much. And I think with that as the sort of the founding element of it, that's why I think, Ahmed, you're so perfect for this, because I know you have dedicated your time, your life to exactly that, to doing those things that improve human life. Which frankly, that's why you're at Hopkins, because that's what our whole North Star is. And I so appreciate that. And these days are always very special and fun. I reflect this on occasion that these days there's not a ton of fun right now going on in my life, but one of which is to be with people like you, Ahmed, your family, the Smith Charitable Trust, all of you, because this is what it ultimately is. It's about recognizing the outstanding women and men who are in our labs, who are in our clinics, who are in our classrooms, teaching that next generation of students who are doing the research that improves care, the alumni that help often support these professorships, and in this case, the visionary philanthropists who help guide us to the future, knowing what we should go and help us find our way there. So these are always great and fun days. And Ahmed, I know you have, as Justin's already detailed, and I won't repeat because he took most of the words I was going to say tonight, but your career has been extraordinary. Just all the boundaries that you've been trying to knock down in the care of patients. You know, you had to cross a few boundaries, as Justin already noted, just to get to this place, from Turkey to Ohio to Canada to Baltimore. And that proves your perseverance. You were on track to do great things. And for those of us here who have the opportunity to have sent patients to you, that has meant a great deal. Justin's already noted just what you have been able to do, both as a clinician, which is outstanding care, and I have had a patient with Guillain-Barré syndrome who you have actually seen, who thinks you are extraordinary, which I know to be true, but it's how you've taken that on and extended Dr. Drachman's vision for where neuroimmunology in particular can be. And I think all we need to do is think about all the diseases that are probably immunologically driven in the central nervous system that we didn't perfectly understand before. And I think COVID may have been maybe a tipping point for us to really dramatically say, oh yeah, there are things that happen to us in an environment that lead to immunologic responses that probably have central nervous system focus, and that you've been able to do that, but also still focusing on the real importance of peripheral neuropathies. And again, I've had another patient that you've seen who had a chemotherapy-induced neuropathy, which are debilitating, scary for people. And they've talked about your kindness, your gentleness, helping them through that beyond obviously your skill, but being a great physician is really what differentiates you, I think, from many other people. So thank you for that on behalf of my own patients, Ahmed, truly. So I couldn't be happier that you're carrying on the legacy as the named professorship for this particular one, knowing that it came from Dan Drachman. You said the height, both Ahmed and I said at the same time, and his voice. No, I'm still like an octave or two too high in my lowest voice. But you deserve this recognition. Named professorships are an honor, but they're also a promise that we make, a promise to carry on doing the work that matters the most, improving the human condition. And Ahmed, you are doing that each and every day. So on behalf of all of our colleagues at Johns Hopkins Medicine, I want to say congratulations and thank you. Well done.
Thank you, Dean. So earlier in the program, I touched on the impact of the W.W. Smith Charitable Trust. I'd like to take a moment to more fully honor their longstanding dedication and generosity. Literally for decades, the W.W. Smith Charitable Trust has been a beacon of generosity and purpose, helping organizations like ours and individuals achieve their goals, hopes, and dreams. As a private foundation, their impact is both broad and deeply personal, touching lives through support for basic human needs, undergraduate scholarships, maritime education, and the preservation of maritime heritage, and medical research in areas of heart disease, cancer, neuropathy, neuroimmunology, and AIDS. The legacy of this work began with William Wyckoff Smith, known widely as Bill Smith, a visionary businessman and generous philanthropist, and fun fact, aficionado of model shipbuilding. Is that right, Robert? Mr. Smith established the W.W. Smith Foundation in 1951 and was a devoted supporter of Philadelphia's charitable community until his untimely passing at the age of 56. In his will, he ensured that his values would continue to guide future generations by creating the Charitable Trust. And you've heard from Dean how that has been a very substantial impact for basic biomedical research. And again, we're really honored to have you here with us, Robert, representing the Charitable Trust. We appreciate your attendance for the second time and your steadfast stewardship of the Trust's mission and impact. This professorship stands as a tribute to your family's enduring belief in the power of medicine and innovation. So today we celebrate not only a named chair, but also the vision and legacy that made it possible. To the trustees of the W.W. Smith Charitable Trust and to the Smith family, we thank you. Your support ensures your family legacy lives on here, not only in what we achieve, but in the lives we change because of your belief in what's possible. So thank you. So now it's my pleasure to call to the lectern Dr. Charlotte Sumner for a few remarks.
So it's really such an honor to have the chance to get up here and say a few words about you, Ahmet. Thank you for the chance. So Ahmet has led our neuromuscular division for over 25 years. Is that right? Do I have that right? And 20 years. So, you know, this is the neuromuscular division in the department, I think, is really one of the strongest divisions in the department and arguably the best neuromuscular division in the country. And one might think that that role is pretty easy with such a strong division, but I think along the way there have been some challenges and you have navigated them so beautifully. There have been some strong personalities here and there. Maybe a few financial shenanigans that popped up. Those in the know what these are. And these things would really test anybody. But Ahmet has guided us with this incredibly calm and steadfast leadership. I mean, he really is unflappable. I go into his office excited about something, and he just is the vision of calm. He's had to make some really difficult decisions for our division. He had to close a neuromuscular pathology lab, which was really a difficult decision, but I think the right one. And importantly, he has always had his eye on supporting junior faculty and trainees, always. That has been his North Star. He is incredibly generous with his time. He has guided me personally many, many times in taking care of patients and also in my research endeavors. And I know he has done that for so many people in the room. For me, some of my favorite memories, although not happening often enough, are sitting in the dark basement of the EM microscope and looking at peripheral nerve sections and learning from Ahmet about this incredibly beautiful ultrastructure of peripheral nerve. So in recent years, Ahmet has built this incredible new center, the Merkin Center, that really aims to integrate peripheral nerve research and advance our understanding of peripheral neuropathy. And I think, again, so nicely illustrating his fundamental philosophy, a major program of that center is funding grants for trainees and junior faculty. And it just indicates, again, the generosity of Ahmet. So Ahmet and his wife Nishi blended their Turkish and Indian cultures and raised two incredible children. Their son Errol works in London in fintech. I had no idea what that was. I had to Google it today, and it turns out it's building computer technologies to enable financial services. He's incredibly successful. Their daughter, Maya, is in her first year of medical school, and I had the privilege of working with Maya for a couple of years, and she led a really important study, I hope, that we're doing evaluating patients with TRPV4 mutations. And I think Maya so embodies the qualities of her parents. She has incredible intellectual firepower, but also just a deep kindness and empathy. And having an academic physician father myself, one of the things I most enjoyed was watching the interactions between Ahmet and Maya. Just such beautiful mutual respect and kindness. And they commuted together every day to work. It was so sweet. So lest you think it's all work and no play, Ahmet, particularly in recent years, has really prioritized quality of life. And Amita and I were so thrilled when Nishi and Ahmet decided to move downtown after their kids were old enough. And I did it this morning, and I love gazing across the harbor and knowing my friend and colleague is so close by. He's a true foodie. He knows every good restaurant in downtown Baltimore and knows every best things on the menu, every drink and food. And as you heard, remarkably late in his life, he has taken up mountaineering and has scaled these incredible mountains around the world. He actually trained for those in Fells Point and in downtown harbor area, and I'd see him walking initially every day and then running every day. And now he can scale Everest. It's incredible. So Ahmet, thank you for all you have done for so many of us and our division and our department. Thank you.
So I'm between you, all of you and the liquor at the back of the room. So today you've really heard about the wonderful, impactful, and creative accomplishments of my dear colleague and friend, Ahmet. We're a pretty tight community in neurology, and particularly our neuromuscular division, which I'll emphasize is really the best division in neurology, probably the entire School of Medicine when it comes to basic and clinical research, no question. I'm here really to end this by honoring and recognizing Ahmet when considering his predecessors and mentors who preceded him. This is very important as you've heard about Ahmet today and how wonderful he is. His lineage of who he's trained under speaks much to who he is as an individual scientist and clinician. I actually knew Ahmet when he was a resident like Justin in neurology. And as some of you may know, he trained under the late and great Jack Griffin. Furthermore, this professorship was first directed to Dan Drachman. Both men in our department served not only as teachers and mentors to Ahmet and to the community at large, but also outstanding, stellar examples what is a Hopkins clinical scientist. Bar none, they are true examples. And today we honor Ahmet because he is in fact the same stellar physician and scientist that he shares with his prior mentors. In fact, I'm pretty sure if Jack and Dan were still with us, They would be enormously proud of his accomplishment and delighted that he received this professorship and joined them as model clinician scientists and endowed faculty members. Ahmet, as Charlotte mentioned, I've always valued your generosity and warmth for sure, as well as the great intellect you bring to all of us, locally as personal meetings, but also to our group meetings. You are truly most worthy of this great personal achievement. Congratulations.
Thank you, Charlotte and Jeff. Beautiful. Well, we've heard just about all the wonderful things. We're not going to have your wife come up and say anything that might refute any of those things today. But I think everyone would clearly know, are you upholding the traditions in the best sense of Johns Hopkins? Absolutely. You're so worthy of this named professorship, Dr. Hoke, and it is my honor and pleasure to present to you this medallion that reflects that honor on this wonderful, beautiful day. Congratulations.
This is really an amazing moment for me. I'd like to start my comments by thanking everyone who's attending this event and sharing this honor with us today. But I want to first start by thanking Mr. Robert Havens from the W.W. Smith Charitable Trust, who was able to join us today as we celebrate the remarkable legacy and impact that the Smith family has built over the years. As Justin and Dean DeWeese mentioned, the Trust has been really a steadfast supporter of medical research, higher education scholarships, and maritime education in greater Philadelphia community, but also has been a partner for Hopkins. And I'm also honored to receive this professorship medal from Dean Ted DeWeese. He has been an exemplary leader for our school, and he is someone I look up to. I want to thank Dr. Justin MacArthur for many years of mentorship and guidance and his leadership for our department. As he mentioned, I've known Justin for over 30 years. He was the residency director when I started at Hopkins many years ago, but he was also instrumental in my initial lab research. After Jack recruited me back to Hopkins, and I was trying to figure out what I want to study, and Justin's advice was, look, we are seeing all these HIV patients, they have neuropathy, nobody is studying this, why don't you, with your background in tissue culture and animal modeling? And that was actually, was very good for me, because within a year of generating preliminary data, I was able to get an R01 grant very quickly, and it really helped launch my career, and I'm forever thankful for that. But Justin hasn't been just supporter of my career, but he has done to many others in our department. So I'm forever grateful for his mentorship, support, and friendship. I want to thank Charlotte and Jeff for their wonderful introduction and many years of friendship and support as colleagues. Our division and our department is really strong because of colleagues like them. They're really role models in every sense. They embody the ethos of Johns Hopkins. They are excellent clinicians, scientists, and educators. Dr. MacArthur introduced Dr. Drachman, the inaugural holder of the Smith Charitable Trust Professorship. But I want to say a few words about him and his importance in our field. As Justin mentioned, Dan is really, or was the quintessential physician scientist. As a founding member of the department and the founder of our division, his research on myasthenia gravis was really groundbreaking. He was the one who demonstrated this was an autoimmune disease that was targeting the postsynaptic receptors. And he did the initial clinical trials and demonstrated that plasmapheresis was an effective treatment. This was long before people knew about how to treat myasthenic crises. He was also instrumental in developing many other treatments for myasthenia gravis. But he was also a very compassionate physician. He would spend as much time with his patients as they needed. I've seen him in the clinic. He would spend 2 hours or even 3 hours with a patient who might have been scheduled only for an hour. But he did the same thing with his trainees. He never left anybody wanting more. He would, when I was a resident, we would round late in the evening, sometimes past the dinner time. He really selflessly gave his time and his wisdom. In my own clinical practice and my teachings, I try to emulate him, and I'm really honored to follow in his footsteps. I also want to remember and honor my mentors who have been instrumental in me getting into this field and guiding me into a life dedicated to research and clinical excellence. It really started with my high school chemistry teacher, Mr. Erdoğan Kaynak, who encouraged me to go into medical school, because at that time in my last year in high school, I was actually thinking of going to computer sciences. And I don't know if you know this, in Turkey, you take one exam, national exam, and you rank what schools you're going to go into. I had only two choices, either this one medical school, which was the top medical school in Turkey, or the top computer science program. Thankfully, I got into medical school. But then in medical school, I met a neurologist, Dr. Turgay Dalkara. In his lab, I spent my third and fourth year summers doing in vitro experiments using sera from GPS patients and looking at the conduction block in rat nerves. So that was my first introduction to science. And it really enforced the idea that I really need to go to the United States or Canada to further my training. And that's how I ended up in the United States. Initially, I was at University of Illinois, but my mentor decided to become the dean at Indiana University. And he suggested that I reach out to Case Western Reserve University to Stowe Landis, who was setting up the first neuroscience department at the school at that year. So I ended up interviewing, and within a couple of days moved from Champaign-Urbana to Cleveland and did my research with Jerry Silver, working on CNS trauma and role of astrocytes. Jerry was a great mentor. He really let me explore new directions that was different than what was being done in the lab. And whenever he asked me to do something, or when I showed him some data, he would always come up with another question and say, "Did you think of that?" And so unfortunately, we lost Jerry recently. And there's going to be a fest trip for his honor at the end of this month, and I'm happy to be able to go to Cleveland for that. But as Justin mentioned, one person had the highest impact in my research career and what I do today, both clinically as well as in research area, and that was Jack Griffin. I was very fortunate to do my residency research project in Jack's lab, and he basically said, "Look, I know you're interested in CNS injury, but PNS is a lot easier to work with. We have better models than the central nervous system." And I was always interested in regeneration. He said, "You're never going to see spinal cord injury successfully regenerated, but you can perhaps in your lifetime see successes of peripheral nerve regeneration." And he encouraged me to go to Canada because my wife and I were both on J1 visas. So I ended up in Canada for 2 years. But during my fellowship, the first AN meeting, Jack asked me to come back to Hopkins. He had just become the chair at that time. I basically said yes without even asking my wife. I just trusted him. I didn't ask what my salary was going to be or my startup package. Back then, this is how we did things. And all these people who have been mentors have a unique quality to them. As one author said, a mentor is like a tattoo. It stays with you forever. In my own ways, I try to emulate my mentors and honor their legacy. I also want to thank both past and present members of my lab and also our neuromuscular clinical research group. The research that we do could not have been possible with their dedication and steadfast commitment to cutting-edge research. And finally, I want to thank my family. My parents supported my decision to go to medical school and then come to the United States, giving me freedom to pursue medical research. My wife, Nishi, and our children, Errol and Maya, have always been supportive of my career. They put up with many late evenings or weekends spent in the lab or writing grants or papers. I could not have accomplished half of what I have done without their support. And in closing, I want to thank Ms. Gina Scalise and her team in organizing this event as we celebrate the support of the W.W. Smith Charitable Trust for Medical Research. Thank you. Can you go picture?
So thank you, Dr. Hoke. Ahmet, that was beautiful. And for those of you who are not near the front, he's actually wearing the Department of Neurology brain tie. And we have some samples for sale afterwards. We accept credit cards.
It's the same tie I got my first year residence.
Yeah, I recognize the soup stains at the bottom. Yeah. So thank you. This was beautiful. Thank you for your remarks. Your words were absolutely on target. And thank you, Mr. Havens, for being here representing the trust. So with that, this is the conclusion of the event, except for the exciting part of enjoying some refreshments at the back and mingling, and hopefully you can stay around for at least a few minutes to congratulate Ahmet. Thank you very much.